with defend. So again, Nilk doing all he can right now to make Yane really pay for this expansion. If he can't make Yane pay for the expansion, if it's just like Yane gets this free expo, it's not a fair matchup anymore. The reason I find this matchup so balanced for me is that once the human gets his expo, it's pretty fair. Like you have the human expo, so you're doing pretty well, like right from the start, like as is. Simply because you have an expo, 2 gold mines versus 1. One gold mine for 1 gold mine isn't fair. Like the undead units are just better. Like at tier 3, they're just better than yours. And the reason you can win is because you can get a lot of units that are good against the undead player really quickly. If you can't get all the units you need, then you're just not going to be able to win, period. You need to be able to get 80 food of Knight Gyro, or Griffin Gyro, or Tank Griffin. You need to be able to get those things. If you can't get 80 foods worth of it, then you're not going to be able to win. And with the undead attacking you and just basically pressuring you as much as you can, you're essentially just not going to be able to stop the undead player from having a superior army advantage over you for most of the game, which is the last thing you want. I'm not saying no expo is undoable, I'm just saying it's rather hard. So Nilk just sort of continually harassing this expo, trying to make it so Yane is, you know, just again continually paying for his expo. Cancel his slaughterhouse, that's like 30 gold, some lumber. And Yane right now has like a shitload of gold right now that he really can't spend, and he basically right now is making extra acolytes. So in the event that the Paladin runs in and kills a whole bunch of them while he techs, which is 100% likely, it's going to happen, I guarantee it. One of the main advantages of the Paladin is the ability to harass. So obviously, if you know he's going to do that, then you might as well just preemptively make some acolytes, considering the amount of money Yane has. Nilk is already about halfway to his tier 3, and Yane just started his tier 3. That's a really big deal. Usually the undead tech speed is a lot faster. With the human tech speed faster, it does allow Nilk to go tanks and griffins and get a large tier 3 army, while Yane is attempting to do the same. And Yane probably isn't going to be able to, simply because, or he's not going to be able to make the army he wants, simply because he's so far behind compared to Nilk right now. Tech speed is a major issue. With the resources that Nilk has now, it doesn't really matter how much resources the undead has, because he's going to be making the same units. Like, it's just this fast expo isn't really weighing out for him, simply because of how the matchup works. Once the human has this 80-80 army with tank Griffin, it just becomes very, very difficult for the undead player, and it's the last thing they want. I don't know if the fast expansion was really the right choice for Yane on this map. He probably should have played a little more aggressively. So right now, Nilk did summon a Mountain King. I'm not a huge fan. Usually when I go the Paladin, I like to go him solo. He just seems a lot more powerful to me that way. He probably went the MK just for the extra disable to fight. Just for the extra disable to fight the Paladin, or to fight the Panda, because without that disable, the Panda's pretty easy. Has a pretty high survivability rate. So now, again, Nilk, making him pay for this expansion, killing Akos. The more Akos, like, I think, like, Yane must make like 30 Akos this game, like, in addition to, like, how many he's supposed to have. That's a lot. Like, if you just do the gold math, that's a shitload. Trust me, that's the last thing that Yane wants to be doing, and Nilk's making him do it. So, again, versus an expanding undead, they're not going to have an army advantage, so you need to be trying to push a resource advantage as much as you can. Right now, Nilk is simply staying below 50 food and banking. Look at his gold. He has 4,300 gold and almost 900 lumber. And then Yane has like no lumber and like 500 gold. And they're both expanded and they're both low upkeep, but he's making Yane spend all of this money on keeping this expo alive, because if the expo does die, he will definitely lose the game, as to right now where it's just most likely he's going to lose. Okay, so if you look at Nilk's base, he did finish 2 workshops and began the construction of a 3rd workshop. Another point that's Nilk is sort of doing here that's I think pretty cool. all this aggressiveness is really keeping it so Yane can't creep, and with Yane's inability to creep, all he has is a level 3 Panda, as opposed to what could very easily have been a level 5 Panda at this point. So very smart play by Nilk to be able to keep that Panda on a pretty low health, or pretty low HP or experience. Yeah, keep the Paladin or the Panda on pretty low experience so that so he doesn't get raped basically at tier 3. So yeah, Nilk overall right now doing very well. He's still banking below 50 food, I believe. Yeah, he's at 44 of 66, still banking, and now he's just doing some towering up to be safe. It's never a bad idea to tower up your base versus Undead. I mean, on Echo Isles you don't want to be over towering, like you don't want to be making like 10 towers like you normally would be, unless you're absolutely expecting a 9-minute destroyer push. If it's just going to be a pretty standard, you're expecting a pretty standard sort of game. Versus them, you probably want to make 5 towers. That's the number I would go with. Nilk just basically has been raping Yane up and down this entire game, so he knows he's not really going to need those towers because Yane did a fast expansion, and he's basically costing him tons and tons of resources. Why is he going to need towers for Destros that don't exist? Basically, the main reason you get the towers is so you can wait, so you can have time to counter Undead Destroyer and Ghoul Frenzy, which really is one of the least of Nilk's concerns right now. If you'll notice, he just crept his level 5 Paladin. Level 5 Paladin, pretty versatile versus Undead, pretty amazing, simply because run in light, 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 light. Hello, governor, all your echoes are dead. Like, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Like, just considering that the Paladin can kill an Echo at just like a finger of death, Echo dead. And that's basically another great reason to be playing this aggressively, is you get higher level heroes. And he did some early creeping to get his level 3, and has basically just been on the offensive the entire game. If the Undead player had played Standard, Nilk would have towered up a lot. The differences in the game, Nilk would have crept a lot more with his Footmen and Mercs, while harassing with his Paladin, and got between 5 and 10 towers with masonry at each of his bases, and that would have been the primary differences between these games. Again, right now, if you look, the Paladin just sort of chilling and you know, hacking away at this ziggurat here while just lighting echoes over and over again. The Paladin's holy shield length is basically forever. So he can just do this all day while he creeps up his MK to level 3, which is essentially the magic number for the MK versus Undead. I mean, obviously the better of the magic numbers would have to be 5, but you can't really expect to get that all the time, can you? Nilk still banking almost 6k gold. This strat to me kind of reminiscent of Sauron Zerg, which is an old StarCraft strat where you basically just mass expos and towers until you have, you know, like the entire map covered in expos and towers. Then you just take all your hatcheries, which is the production unit, the main production building for Zerg, the only production building for Zerg in StarCraft, rally point in their base and just run around all your hatcheries, massing cracklings, which are Zerglings on adrenaline and stuff, and ultralisks and just like all the awesome Zerg units, and you just rally point in their base, and because you have more resources than them, you just go and you just have, ultimately you're going to be able to win the game just simply on the fact that you have more resources. If you compare resources right now, Yane is at low upkeep with 200 gold and has been taking a beating this entire game intensely, really just not doing that well, whereas